Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Dead Pundits Society. Today, Pablo and I are going to be discussing our top 11 all time for World Cup. So, we've each made a squad of 11 players. This was extremely difficult, I'll preface by saying. At least I found it to be so. And we're going to be discussing who we had, maybe who just missed out, and then look at what a potential combined 11 would look like.
Yeah, so I just want to start off by saying two premises. The first premise is that, as Jake mentioned, is just based on World Cup performances. So, there will be players that maybe don't rank as highly in an all-time 11 or in a top 20 players of all time, but that for their performances at the tournament do merit a place in here. For me, the second thing is that I mostly went off of players that I've seen myself. Obviously, there's some past players in my 11, but the thing is, with the past players, you can mostly go off of stuff like stats, right? Like, I don't know how
Okay.
the right back of Brazil in like 1970 played, for
This is
example,
a
like whether he was
massive
better or worse than
preface. Okay, I did
current one.
not do it that way. I've definitely
But
did it historically.
no, I still have some older players, but it's more in the attacking side. We'll get into it, but I'm sure we'll have some disagreements. Do you want to start off with your goalkeeper and back line?
Yeah, I'm expecting some howlers already from this preface. I think I will just say, I mean, before we even get into it, because I'm sure there'll be debate, this is one of the few where I had to really give credit to records, history, things like that. Specifically because with the World Cup, there's certain things and certain players that obviously I never watched live, but you go back on YouTube or you look at their achievements. And this was one of the ones where I gave a lot of credit to some stuff from the past. But anyways, for goalkeeper, this one was one of the easier positions for me. I chose Gigi Buffon. I think that's going to be a common choice. I think Italy was obviously very strong defensively in 2006, and he was a huge reason why. I mean, the rate at which they kept clean sheets, just the defensive back line, you have to give credit to it. And I love Gigi Buffon as a player. I think he's the best. Him and Neuer are the two best goalkeepers of all time, and I had to choose him as my goalkeeper.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't think it's going to come as much of a surprise being Italian, but I also have Buffon as the goalie. I was considering some other choices. Like Iker Casillas had a great tournament in 2010. Neuer had a great. I mean, Neuer in 2014. Obviously, Germany won, but I don't feel like he made really that many instrumental saves in that tournament. I mean, I think it was just more a well-oiled machine. While Buffon, I can clearly remember some top saves he made in key
Hmm.
moments, notably the one on Zidane in the final, but like also some other ones. And the fact that he only conceded a penalty and an own goal throughout the whole tournament is also pretty insane. And he played five tournaments as well, or four, I think, because he was injured in one of them. But anyway, that was yeah, I think pretty simple. For right back, I mean, this is gonna start to seem like an all-time 11, at least from these first two picks. I've actually
Right.
got Cafu at right back because I think he is the best right back to have played in a World Cup. He won, I believe, two World Cups in '94 and 2002. And
Yep.
he's part of that 2002 team that was one of the better
Hmm.
Brazil squads that we've seen in the last 3 or 4 decades. So I think that he definitely deserves a place there. It
Yeah.
seems from your reaction like you potentially might agree with me, but what do you think?
No, this one was the defense I struggled less than the midfield and the attack. I'll just be honest. The defense, I feel like there's some really good players, but there's certain ones that stand out. I chose Cafu as well, obviously for the reasons you mentioned. I mean, he won in 94, and then he won again in 2002, and he made the final losing to France in 98. And he was a starter in all of these squads. I mean, that's just a very strong record for a defender. The only other one I considered, obviously, I went with Cafu also for accolades and to give a bit of respect. The one I wanted to mention, just as an honorable mention, is Philipp Lahm. I think Philipp Lahm has been a phenomenal player, not just in terms of obviously winning in 2014, but he's been around, I think, playing for Germany since 2006 and was a mainstay in their squad. I just wanted to give him an honorable mention, but yeah, I ultimately went with Cafu as well. Do we want to
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
do we want to do the left back before we do the center backs as a pair? Or
Sure. Yeah, yeah. So left back, who do you have there?
This one again, I thought it was kind of straightforward. There's not that many options. I went with Roberto Carlos. I don't know. I don't know who you went with, but I lean Roberto Carlos just because, once again, an established winner, has had some huge moments in World Cups. He's known for scoring some crazy goals and just being, let's say a big game player. So I gave it to him.
Yeah, I had him too. I mean, I was very tempted to put Fabio Grosso in, of course, but I think Roberto Carlos slightly edges it. I mean, again, this is one of the positions where I think, if I knew a lot about like Brazil's team from 1970, like maybe you'd put one of their players. Or when I was doing some research for this list, I saw that people put Andreas Brehme at left back from Germany in 1990, but I just didn't really know enough about his performances. I mean, I know he scored the goal in the final against Argentina, but other than that, like
Yeah,
that's why I made the premise of or the preface of these things, especially in like defense and midfield, because I didn't really know much about these players. So I just went with what I know. I know Roberto Carlos had a pretty good tournament in 2002. He was definitely the best left back at the world around that time. Obviously, there's a debate
yeah,
historically for whether he's better or Ashley Cole or other options as well. But for me, it was pretty clear Roberto Carlos. Center backs, I mean, this might be a bit controversial because I've seen him actually put in different positions over the pitch. I actually went for Kaiser Franz Beckenbauer as one of my
I
center
have him as
backs.
well. Yeah,
I
he's
know
one
that
of
some
mine.
people put him in midfield because he was more of a sweeper, but for me, I don't know. It just from seeing footage of him and from doing a bit of research, and also to be honest, from him being an icon on FIFA, I remember him always being a center back. So that's where I decided to place him. And then my second center back might be a bit more controversial because we're talking about our first player that actually never won the tournament yet. For me,
Yeah,
it's Paolo Maldini. I have him as my other center back. I think he was in the final in '94, which Italy lost on penalties. Like I think he generally had quite a good World Cup career. I think he was unlucky not to be called up in 2006. Maybe given the Nesta injury early on, he would have had a little bit of game time, but obviously he was already 38 then, so he had retired a few years before. But he was. I'm not sure if he still has this record or if someone's overtaken it. But up until a few World Cups ago, he had the record for appearances at the tournament with 25. I think that might have been beaten subsequently, but yeah, for me, Paolo Maldini is an rightful recipient of the second center back slot.
that's really interesting. Beckenbauer is one I included as well. He was one of the ones when I was talking about historically, you got to give credit. I mean, he's one of the main players of that entire decade, right? Like he's one of the names, especially defensively. I mean, like you said, he played both center back and as well as a DM. So it's a little bit of flexibility in terms of where you want to put him. I definitely threw him at center back because I the midfield is too complicated, and I wanted to give him plaudits also because he won the World Cup as a manager as well, which might come up later. We'll discuss managers, but and it was pretty shortly after his career ended. I mean, he won in what, 74, and then he won again as a manager in 82, I want to say,
No,
or
1990 in
sorry,
Italy.
1990. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, my bad.
That's still pretty short after, though. I mean, 16 years is not that long.
Yeah, and he was just he's a mainstay, so I had to put him in. That's really interesting you put Maldini. I love Maldini. I mean, one of my favorite defenders ever. Obviously, I think he's the GOAT defender in my opinion. But I actually put someone that I have notoriously criticized a lot on this podcast and that I can't stand some of the agenda and narrative going around them, but I had to give them their flowers based off of one tournament. I put Fabio Cannavaro, just because, that run was legendary, that for 7 games, if we're talking about one tournament, that's the center back performance outside of Beckenbauer that stands out the most to me, I think he's won the tournament. Maldini's unfortunate to not be part of that squad, as you said. And then center back in general, you could give some honorable mentions maybe to Bobby Moore,
Yeah,
iconic.
I've seen him in some lists. Yeah,
And to be fair, he was the leader of that England team, the 66 that's won. I saw some people online mention Daniel Passarella, but I don't know nearly enough about him to include him.
yeah, yeah. Me neither.
So So I lean for Cannavaro, but that's interesting that we have two different Italian players.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, Cannavaro definitely had a great tournament. Also, considering the fact that Nesta got injured in the second game, and so he had to carry a bit of a makeshift defense through that tournament.
Yeah.
Obviously winning the Ballon d'Or as well. Okay, but that's interesting. I mean, both are great options. I wish we had either of those in the national
I
team now instead of
yeah.
Bastoni, but
I
yeah.
I really wanted to switch my formation to a 3-4-3 or something with a three at the back to give myself additional attacking options, but I couldn't bring myself to do it, and it felt too rude to exclude Cafu or Roberto Carlos. Um,
Yeah, no, that's fair. Then in the midfield, so for me, there's one player that's a lock, which is Zinedine Zidane. I
yes.
think also for me, the way I made this list or this 11, if someone's a captain of their team, that also counts a bit because I think, captaining your team is a big responsibility, especially when it comes to your country. Obviously, Zidane, I mean, there's not much to say. He won the World Cup in 98, got to
Mm.
the final in '06, famous final, but carried France to that final in '06 when maybe they didn't have the best squad at the tournament. A bit tempered, a bit of a bad temper on him with two red cards at the World Cup. But I think he was the best player in '98. I'm not sure if he won like the award or not, but he won the
He was
Ballon
definitely the
d'Or
best
after
player.
that, and yeah, I would say for sure he's locked into this list. And then I have like two midfielders and like an attacking midfielder. So my second, like
Mhm.
I guess six or eight or probably a six in this case, would be Lothar Matthäus. Matthäus, I don't really know how you pronounce it, the German guy, but I think he was phenomenal. He made the World Cup final in '86, won in 1990. Yeah, I mean that alone, I think merits quite a recognition for him. And it was just really an ever present for Germany over a decade and a half. And so for me,
Mhm.
he makes it into the squad.
Interesting. Yeah, so I had three midfielders. I had Zidane as well. I think he's one of those. He's one of the first names you think of, right? I mean, just in terms of being a big game player, I mean, you spoke about it very nicely, and I know we're only talking about World Cups here, so I'll only consider the ones he participated in. But 1998, I mean, man of the match, scored two goals in the final. Um, and Zidane is not a player that necessarily like, yes, he scored in his career. He definitely scored, but that's not like what he's known for, so to speak. He's known for his flair, his dribbling, his creativity. But the fact that he could score goals like that, scored another goal in a final despite getting sent off, and afterwards in 2006, throughout the entire tournament in 2006, I mean, he was, I want to say 36 years old, or maybe 35, turning 36, and he was for me, after Cannavaro, or arguably the best player in the tournament in general. Yeah, not much to say. I mean, Aura, huge player. I had to have him in my list. My midfield is very attacking minded. I'm glad you're including Mataus because that's a great shout. I had him. He's one of the first ones I have. I have a list here of honorable mentions. He's one of the first ones I have there. I mean, iconic player, absolute engine. He's one of the ones that I didn't know of, and then as a teen, you like hear about them on FIFA, and you're like, oh, who is this? And then you look him up, and you're like, damn, this guy was good. Um, but my midfield three is Zidane. I guess we'll say the attacking one after. I assume you have an attacking one too. Yeah, Zidane, and I had to give plaudits to him just because, for me, it's the best. World Cup side I've ever seen. I chose Xavi. I hesitated between Xavi and Iniesta. I think you could make a case for either, but for me, Iniesta might have been more of the standout in 2008 and 2012 Euros. I think in terms of the 2010 World Cup, Spain's only World Cup, Xavi was the dictator of play. He had ridiculous stats about not missing any passes. I mean, for me, everything was going through him. He was the tiki-taka master. The system was largely built around his presence. And I know, Iniesta scored the goal in the final, but I lean towards Xavi. Had to give him flowers here.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think definitely those were difficult choices. For me, I just thought that Mataus was more of a presence that dragging the team, even though obviously that Spain team was much more of a well-oiled machine. that played amazing football. I mean, my attacking midfielder, I don't think this is going to come as a shock, but I've got none other than Diego Armando Maradona.
Yeah, me
I
too.
think one of the best players of all time.
Yeah.
Obviously, was not called up in '78 when Argentina won, but he was pretty young. He was 18. But in '86, he really showed what he was worth, scoring I think 4 or 5 goals in the tournament, including the infamous hand of God against England, and then the second goal where he dribbled past 5 or 6 players. Yeah, I mean, for me, dragged Argentina to that title, but other than that, was really a presence off the field as well. Very involved in politics and a lot of other causes. But for me, obviously, just considering what he did at the World Cup, I think he deserves a spot. Yeah, so that's my midfield. My attack is a bit controversial, I think,
Wait,
but
wait.
what's
Let
your
me
attacking midfielder?
let me yeah, I was gonna say let me say one thing about Maradona. First of all, I had him as well. I think he's one of those ones that's also kind of a lock. You got to find a way to get him in there somehow, just because that tournament, I mean, he was ridiculous. Best player in the world at the time, hands down. Won the Golden Ball and got a ton of assists. I think he had the most assists in the tournament as well, something like that. And I just want to say, I mean, you've spoken already eloquently about Maradona. There's not that much more I need to add, but I think as far as footballers go, it's a bit of a tangent, but that name, Diego Armando Maradona, I think is like when you're born and you have that name, you have to become a football player or something. That's one of the coolest like full
Yeah,
names
I agree
I've ever
for
heard for a
sure.
player.
And he also got made the final in 1990 with an Argentina
Yeah,
that
that's
wasn't
right.
that good. And he was the only player I've ever seen that managed to make Italy seem like away from home at their tournament. They were playing Italy Argentina in the semifinals in Naples, and he
And
basically
they
made
were
all the
cheering for
Neapolitan
him.
fans root for him
That's
instead of
super
the national team.
controversial, man. I remember that was
Yeah.
like I've read about that being a huge issue. There was all these fights and stuff because all the Neapolitans cheered for Argentina instead of their own national team.
Yeah,
But
and so that my front three, it's like a more of a narrow front three. I'm not gonna lie, like I don't really have
interesting.
like proper wingers. But I'm gonna just give my first name and then you can step in. But my first name is R9. I mean, I think he needs to
Yeah.
be in there. He scored 8 goals at the World Cup in 2002, and we have to consider the fact that he was playing with like one knee by that point already, and he still managed to score 8 goals. Then he scored 4 more in 2006, even though or three, I think, even though Brazil wasn't
Mhm.
that good. In 1998, he scored 4 goals as a 20-year-old, 21-year-old, I think, and dragged Brazil to that final. Kind of controversially, or it's uncertain what happened to him, but he had like febrile convulsions the day before the game and wasn't really his proper self in the final. And so that's one of the I think the big what ifs in football. Like, what if he had been at his full strength? I mean, I still think France would probably win that game, but I think it would be a hell of a lot closer than the 3-0 that it ended up being. And
Mhm.
yeah, for me, one of the best players. It's unfortunate that his injury record was so poor because I think he would rival Messi or Ronaldo had he been fit.
Yeah, it's I had him as well. He was my well, these three guys that I have, you can kind of put them anywhere across the front line. It's very fluid. But R9, I mean, he has to be in, right? As you mentioned, you think of these big standout performances, being, the figurehead of a Brazil team that included some stars, Ronaldinho, Rivaldo. They were not even Romario in the 90s. They were not remiss for attacking talent, and yet he's the crown jewel, so to speak. So I had to put him as well. It's an interesting point about 2006. What's interesting with him is I wonder which tournament he was, I think you can make a case for both. 2002 is the one that stands out in my memory just for that Brazil team, but he was still ridiculously good even at the other tournament. So it's a tough one. Yeah.
Yeah, and he won 2 World Cups. I mean, he was in the 1994 one, but he didn't play, but still in the squad at 17, which isn't bad.
Yeah, sorry. I'm thinking of yeah. So in 1998 he was there as well, obviously lost in the final,
Yeah,
but yeah, great nonetheless.
brutal.
Um The other two, God, this was so hard. I think one of them we'll have in common, so I'll say I had to put Pele in there. I mean, I think he gets disrespected a lot. I've disrespected him before. Pablo's disrespected him before. I mean, not in like a rude way. Just I think there's certain things that he's also said that slightly tarnished his legacy, but there's something that can't be taken away from him, and that's his World Cup performances, right? I mean, winning as a teenager, being the best player in the world for well over a decade. I mean, he's won what, three World Cups, I want to say. Yeah, that's just absurd. Yeah, tell us about Pele. I assume you
Yeah,
know.
I mean, I love Pele, and I really don't like the narrative around football in general that he's like some kind of fraud. Like I think he was really good in the time that he was playing. Obviously, like the whole
Yeah,
thing of counting goals against random sides. I
that's
mean,
the
that's neither here nor there. But the thing is, he won three World Cups, and he played in Brazil at a time where international transfers weren't really that common. Like normally, if a
Hmm.
Brazilian player would just play their whole career in Brazil, even
Well, they had
then,
the
like
best league,
Juventus tried to
arguably,
sign. Yeah,
at the
probably. I
time.
mean, Juventus tried to sign him. A lot of European clubs tried to sign him, and he decided to stay in Brazil, which fair play. So we'll never know what he would have achieved at club level. He obviously didn't win the Ballon d'Or because at the time, non-European players weren't eligible to win the Ballon d'Or, which again,
Yeah, it was a
retroactively
scam.
makes the award kind of stupid in my opinion. But he won
Hmm.
three World Cups. He won a World Cup when he was 18 or 17 even, in Sweden in 1958 in an environment that was very
Scoring in
difficult
the
for
final.
the Brazilian players. Yeah, he scored two goals in the final. I think he scored like three goals in the semifinal. He was playing at a time where there were a lot of racial tensions in Europe as well, and a lot of the Brazilian
Yeah.
players were black. And there's a really good movie about that World Cup. Actually, I forgot the name. It's probably called Pele or something, but I recommend that everyone watch it if you have the time because it's pretty interesting. And yeah, I mean, in '62 he played a few games and then he got kicked out of the game. Like that's the only way that other teams could stop him by just putting a guy to kick him or multiple guys to kick him until he got injured. So that happened to him in '62. That happened to him in '66 as well, where Brazil went out early. And then in 70, he was back, but he was already a bit over his prime, but still scored, I think, four goals or something. And, led Brazil to the final. He scored that famous
Yeah.
header in the final against Italy. And yeah, for me, any discussion around the World Cup needs to be Pelé. If you talk about the World Cup, he's the first guy that comes to my mind. And
Hmm.
I think it's kind of a bit disrespectful the way that he's been talked about these days.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's a bit more of a controversial field off the more figure off the field, but I don't think that should factor into the discussion over his greatness. I mean, if we're really talking about that, Maradona is also quite a controversial guy, right? But I think in these tournaments, which for me, a lot of people
Hmm.
also criticize the World Cup as not being at the level it used to. For me, the World Cup is still the premier football tournament. Like it's the tournament that I'm excited about the most. It's the tournament
It's the
that
best thing in
everyone
football.
watches. It's just the best thing in football. Nothing comes close to it, in my opinion. Like I'd much rather that there's these club versus country debates. For me, it's not even close. Like a tournament with Italy is significantly more important in the way that I see football than a
Yeah.
tournament with Roma.
I
So
agree
yeah.
that that's one thing that you and I are definitely in agreement on, and we've spoken about that before. I rate international football so highly, and I actually, yeah, as much as I love Chelsea, I'd love our French national team more, and it means more to me, and it hurts me more when we lose, 100%. But
Talking about the French national team, who's your third striker?
well, I mean, I've only mentioned one. So sorry, we mentioned two. You're right. My third one, dude, this was really hard. I'm gonna go into a whole thing here. This was really hard because this was very much a heart versus head situation. I just I really want to include Mbappe, I gotta say. I mean, one of my favorite players, even of all time. I'd probably put him in my top five of all time. I love the guy. I mean, been following him, invested in his career since he was 17. Um, and the World Cup Mbappe, I mean, you can say what you want about, Mbappe at Euros. I think he's been very poor, especially for a superstar. He's been one of the most disappointing superstars at Euros. But at World Cups, I mean, one of the greatest World Cup players I've ever seen. And he's only 27. He's only played in two World Cups. He's already coming up on closest record. I think he's only, I want to say, like a couple goals away, maybe 3 goals away, 4 goals away. Um, I mean, ridiculous player. Scored a hat trick in the final in 2022, despite us losing and that being, a heartbreaking a heartbreaking loss. But with all of that said, my heart pick is him. My heart pick is putting Mbappe in, foisting him in for the win and for his performance. I think the brain pick is one that's an unk pick, so to speak. It's an old one, and it's because this guy, if you look him up, he was just ridiculous. I'm dude, Jairzinho, there's a case for it. He was ridiculously good for Brazil, 1970. I didn't really know much about him. No, I'm gonna go with Mbappe. I had Jairzinho pencil in there, but I'm gonna choose Mbappe as my last winger. It's too much, but yeah.
Wow, I mean that's fair. I don't have Mbappe as my third option, but I don't think it's a crazy shout. I want to see how it goes in this upcoming tournament. I think if he has another tournament at the level that he's been having the last two, he definitely walks into an all-time 11 from my
Mm.
point of view. But I have Gerd Muller as my third
I
attacking
was
player.
hesitant with him, dude. He's a really good player. Yeah, go for it.
The thing is, his stats are kind of ridiculous, man. Like I
It's
think he has like
disgusting.
13 goals and like 5 assists in 14 games or something like that. And so for me, he just has to be in there because I think he's one of the clutch performers of the World Cup. Obviously, won the tournament in 2014. Sorry, not 2014, 1974. He's the all-time goal scorer of the Bundesliga, so he's not like he's just some random player, but he's still really good. I think he has a higher goals than game ratio for his country, which is also kind of nuts. 68 goals in 62 games for West Germany. And yeah, for me, he deserves to have a spot there. I think also he had a good tournament in 1970. The torpedo, back in the day. I really wanted to put in Miroslav Klose. I was very
Yeah.
close to putting him in too, but I just feel like Klose did it in more games, and I think the team
Mm.
around him was maybe slightly better. I feel like Muller, other than Beckenbauer, is really the star of that Germany team back in those days. And he also won the Euros in 1972. I mean, I know this is just a World Cup 11, but still, like the fact that he was producing that and delivering that consistently for me means a lot. And so,
Mm.
yeah, for me, I have Muller. I mean, just across the
No, it's a
board, some
very good
honorable
pick.
mentions. I think we have players like Iniesta or Xavi that maybe deserve
Yeah.
to make it in there. In
Well, I
goal,
had
Neuer,
Xavi,
but
yeah.
in attack, yeah, I think close. I think for me, Mbappe, I still want to see 2026, but he's definitely like inching his way closer. I mean, he's 4 goals away from
Yeah.
Close's record right now, so he could well beat that in this tournament at 27.
Also,
But yeah,
I just realized, first of all, I had Klose shortlisted. Sorry, not yeah, I had Klose shortlisted, but also Gerd Muller is what I was going to say, the one you were speaking about. You mentioned both. Klose I was very tempted to put in. I just because of the record and everything. I mean, you talk about international football. He's a mainstay. Gerd Muller, I'd probably inch him over because he's one. But I just realized I got confused. Although I do rate Jairzinho really highly, and he's an honorable mention, I was actually thinking of Garrincha is the one that I wanted to say.
okay,
That's Jairzinho. I was great. I think he scored like a lot of goals in 1970 when they won. I mean, him and Pele were running the show. Um, but I meant Garrincha. I confused the two winger Brazilians. But Garrincha's the one I'm
yeah,
thinking. He's won
I
two.
had him on my short list.
Yeah, he's won two, 1958 and 1962, and he's yeah, just a great player. But another honorable mention,
Yeah,
I wasn't gonna put him in because obviously there were some other ones that I might have considered over him, such as Klose and Gerd Muller. But to be honest, you got to give a shout out to Thomas Muller. Really good in World Cups, man. 2010 and 2014. I think he let himself down after that. Unfortunately, at one point it looked like he was gonna smash the goal scoring record. He was on track to like destroy it based off how good he had been in 2010 and 2014. And then he slowed down. I think he was very disappointing in 2018 and then obviously retired from the national team. I don't think he was there in 2022 unless I'm tripping. Or maybe he was, but he wasn't. Yeah, I don't
no,
remember.
I think he
But
was, but I mean, up until 2014, he was like on Mbappe numbers pretty much. Like I think
yeah,
he had
yeah, it
like 10
was
goals in the
ridiculous.
first two tournaments. Then, and the thing is, he also had a lot of assists in 2010. Then,
Hmm.
2018 and 2022, I mean, I think Germany in general was pretty poor. They
Yeah,
they
bad.
got they didn't make it out of the group stage in both tournaments. So that's actually going to be interesting to see how they do this year because for them, this is like maybe one of their historically worst periods in
Hmm.
these tournaments, and they have a good squad now. So. I would say, yeah, Thomas Muller definitely. I would give him an honorable mention. I wouldn't necessarily. He wasn't
Yeah,
close to
he's
being
like
included.
yeah,
I did have Grinch on my provisional list as well.
yeah.
Just also the lore surrounding him, like the
Mm.
fact that he had like one leg was like 6 inches or 6 centimeters
Yeah,
shorter than
that's
the other.
crazy.
That whole thing was pretty cool. Because that just shows like how some players really do have this God-given talent with the football, and like even with severe physical defects, are still able to
Mm.
perform at such a high level. Yeah, I mean,
Um,
then we probably need a coach in there. I mean, I have a shout. I don't know if this is a great shout, but I put Mario Zagallo. So he won the World Cup in 1970 as a Brazil coach, and he was also a player in 1958 and I think 62. So for me, it's just a case of player manager, like World Cup winner. I like that.
that's cool.
Other
Yeah,
than that, I mean, you could make a shout for Scolari. I think he won in 2002 with
that's what I
Brazil
was
and
gonna say.
made the semis
Really
in
good.
Portugal in 2006. Also
And
coached Chelsea for a bit.
yeah, yeah, he did. Zagallo, that's an interesting one. I wouldn't have, yeah. I mean, 1970 Brazil, you're right. That's arguably the best after Spain, that's maybe the best World Cup winning side ever. I think you could definitely make an argument for it. I mean, they were ridiculous. That's Pele at his peak. We mentioned Jairzinho. Yeah, I thought to include who we're talking about, Beckenbauer, I think just the lore of winning it as a player and winning it as a manager is really cool. So I chose him, so to speak, as a manager, but manager is not as clear cut, because of the nature of the tournament only taking place every 4 years and the fact that, it's countries, anything can happen. It's a much more individualistic style of football. Um, it's hard to have one dominating manager. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think there's been a manager. Actually, I mean, to be fair, Vittorio Pozzo won it twice with Italy, and I'm not sure if the Brazilian manager won it in 58 and 62, but
I think it was a
yeah,
different
so
manager in those two
it
tournaments.
was it was dude, it was a different time though. So I think I wouldn't put Vittorio Pozzo as like the number one. I mean, he's definitely got a shout, but yeah,
I
he coached Italy for like 24 years or something.
yeah,
So it was
I
quite a
wouldn't
long time.
include him, but that's yeah. But
But an
yeah,
honorable mention. Like it's important to
no,
like think about football in the 30s as well. Like we need to consider these first tournaments as well. But I would say yeah, probably I would still stick with Zagallo. Similar to Beckenbauer, only got to win it as a player and as a manager. I think that's pretty cool. Bozzo did not win it as a player, unfortunately. So yeah. So okay, I mean, I think that's our top 11s. I mean, we're gonna be
I think
coming out
that's
with plenty
solid.
of more World Cup content as we get closer to the tournament. I have to say, I thought were a bit less disagreements in this top
Yeah,
11 than I
way
thought. We
less.
have a lot of the same players, but
I thought you were
I'm
gonna
sure that
bring a bunch
we'll.
of when you prefaced it. I thought you were gonna bring a bunch of Italian players when you were saying your
No, I mean,
original
I
little
think
spiel.
those two are good Italian players. I mean, you could also put like I don't know, like
I had
up front. I
Cannavaro
think
and
the
you had
positions are pretty
Maldini,
locked.
but
Yeah, and then Buffon as well. So I think two
yeah.
Italian players is fair. I had four Brazilian players, which is
Could you
quite a
make an
lot. But I
argument
guess they
for
could come.
Lev Yashin as a goalkeeper? You never know. I mean,
No, I don't think so. Because the
Ballon d'Or
Soviet Union,
historic
yeah, but they never
performance.
really made it far in World Cups.
Yeah.
So
Well, they made
if
it
it
to a
was a Euros
semifinal,
one,
didn't they, one year?
yeah, the semifinal. It's like for me, every player on my list made at least a final, and
Every
Maldini's
single
the
player
only
on my
one that
list is
didn't win it.
one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I've got a
but I
lot. We got a
think
lot of Brazil representation. We both got Cafu and Roberto Carlos, which makes sense. We both got Pele and Ronaldo.
yeah, because I mean, if
Yeah.
we're talking about if we consider semifinal lists as well, like Just Fontaine could have a shout as well with his
Yeah.
13 goals in
Yeah.
1958. But for
Ridiculous.
me, I wanted also players that had proven it in the biggest moments. So for me, I
Definitely.
think that's a solid list. I mean, we have some more content in the pipeline as the tournament gets closer. We'll do some more predictions now that we know exactly who's made the tournament. But yeah, let us know. If you think that maybe some other players, maybe David Villa should be in there up front, or some other players that you think we missed out. Maybe some older gentlemen or ladies in the audience think that there's some players from years gone by that we should have included. And yeah, we'll catch you on the next one.